This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. I have a very special treat for you today. We have two of my favorite juicers. On this side we have the BMJ330, also called the Omega Big Mouth Juicer, and that's because it has a wide 3-inch feed chute. And on this side we have the Omega VRT330, also called the Omega Vert Juicer, and this is a low speed single auger vertical style juicer. Both juicers are really good in their own right depending on what you want to juice, and check my other videos for specific videos on each machine and how well they operate. What we're going to talk about today is entitled Heat the Juice. And why do I call this video Heat the Juice? Well, because there's manufacturers and dealers out on the internet that are basically claiming that centrifugal juicers heat the juice and they're no good. Well, you know what? I want to dispel this myth once and for all. Many years ago I wrote an article entitled Heat the Juice, and it's on DiscountJuicers.com website under articles and information that basically states that all juicers heat the juice. So let's today in a video in front of you all show you how much each of these two juicers heat the juice. So the first step is that we'll need to have some produce to juice. So let's come over to my front yard garden and pick some fresh cucumbers to juice, and we're going to test the temperatures of the cucumbers, the temperatures of the blades in each of the machines, and then we're going to test the juice that comes out of each of the machines for their temperature. You'll see the temperature variation, and I'll talk more about the heating of the juice and what, you know, why is this a big deal or why is it not a big deal after we do the test. So now we're at my cucumber trellis, and we're going to pick some fresh cucumbers and measure the temperature of the cucumbers even before we pick them. And as you can see, we're going to have to just come over here and let's see. Oh, here's a big cucumber right here, and it's still attached, and I got a little handy dandy infrared thermometer, and basically the cucumber's temperature, outside temperature, as you can see, is basically 59 degrees approximately. It's fluttering back and forth, but 59 degrees. So let's go ahead and pick that cucumber. I'm going to take this back to juice it. So you saw with the infrared thermometer, the starting cucumber temperature was about 59 degrees. Now we're going to take the machines apart, and we're going to test the blade temperature. So the blade temperature on this machine is basically reading, once again, about 60 degrees. So it's 1 degree hotter, or 60.9, 61 degrees. It's kind of fluctuating back and forth. So just say 60.5 degrees. So it's a little bit hotter than the cucumber. That's the ambient air temperature of the blade on the Big Mouth Juicer. Now we're going to check the auger on the Omega Vert Juicer, and this is made out of basically a Ultim material. And wow, this one's actually 72 degrees, 71 degrees to start with. So the auger is just 10 degrees hotter to start with, more than the centrifugal ejection style Big Mouth Juicer. So 71 degrees on that. Let's go ahead and put this back in there and latch that back closed. And now what we're going to do is we're going to juice each cucumber. So for the Omega Vert Juicer, we're going to have to slice the cucumber in half to make sure it fits in the machine. We're going to turn the machine on. Now this Omega Vert Juicer runs at a low 80 RPMs, and many juicer manufacturers claim that the lower RPMs preserve more of the nutrition and enzymes in the juice. So let's go ahead and juice this in the Omega Vert Juicer, and once again you want to just let the cucumber work itself in. As you can see, out one side we're getting delicious cucumber juice, and out the other side we're getting the cucumber pulp. Once that worked its way through, we're going to put in the other half of the cucumber, and that's just going to work its way through the machine, and the juice comes out one side and the pulp slowly comes out the other side. One of the things I like about the Omega Vert Juicer is that it's relatively quiet because it is running at a low RPM. It's pretty quiet. We're just going to let that run for a minute and let the juice to continue to come out. Alright, so the juice just came out of the machine, and now we're going to take the temperature of that juice. Let's go ahead and pull this out and take the temperature of the juice. The juice temperature is approximately 61.6, 61.8, 62 degrees. So 62 degrees on that juice out of the Omega Vert Juicer. Now let's check the temperature of the juice on the Big Mouth Juicer. We're going to take the plunger out, and in one fall swoop, we're going to be able to juice this whole cucumber in the Omega Big Mouth Juicer. lot louder, a lot quicker. And look at that, one fall swoop, really quick, really easy, and that's one of the benefits of the Big Mouth juicer is that it juices so fast, so quickly, and so easily. We're gonna go ahead and turn that off. We're gonna just lift that up to get all the extra juice out of the juicer there. And next we're gonna take our thermometer and measure the temperature of this juice. Take a look at that. This juice is at 61.0. So technically this juicer made juice that's not heated as much, by about a ½ degree, you know. So they say that centrifugal juicers heat the juice, and now I haven't found that to be true, and that's because the auger on this machine was already warmer than the blade apparatus on this machine, and that's probably because the metal, you know, keeps it cold, and the plastic keeps it probably a little warmer. So, you know, once again, I disproved manufacturers' claims that certain juicers heat the juice. So this juicer doesn't heat the juice as much. But that being said, both juicers heated the juice up a degree or two. Now, does that really matter too much? Well, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter so much. So you can see the juice out of both juicers, you know, made a fairly similar amount of juice. If we had to pick one that yielded more, the Big Mouth juicer actually yielded more on cucumbers. Now that's going to be true. You know, each kind of juicer is going to do better or worse on certain vegetables and fruits. So for example, the Big Mouth juicer tends to do really well on cucumbers, celery, apples, and carrots, and harder vegetables, whereas the Omega Vert is really going to excel at juicing leafy greens and wheatgrass. And I mean, this machine over here can't even juice wheatgrass, and on leafy greens it's barely going to get anything. So overall, they're both good juicers. You should get the juicer that's best going to meet your needs. So now let's talk more about heating the juice and why this could be a problem. So they say heating the juice is a problem because you lose nutrition. Well, the only main nutrition you're going to lose is the enzymes. Enzymes start to degrade at 118 degrees. And as you saw, you know, the temperature when juicing reached nowhere near 118 degrees. So their enzymes are not in peril. Although with the Champion juicer, if you do have a dull blade, that can definitely create some more friction and get fairly warm, even warm to the touch in some cases. That being said, the heat is not the problem. The problem is the oxidation. And the oxidation occurs when basically the cell walls of the produce is broken up and broken into, and it releases the juice, the liquid nutrition of the plants, into the air. It's much like cutting an apple in half, and the apple will start to turn brown. The longer you let it sit out, the more it turns brown. So oxidation and the RPMs of the juicer, basically this one spins at 10,000 RPM, so it's spinning really fast, whereas this one spins at 80 RPMs, it's spinning much slower. So the more revolutions per minute, the more oxygenation or oxygen is being bombarded. So it's like taking a fan and blowing it on that cut open apple, and then that apple is going to turn browner quicker than the apple that's just sitting in open air without the fan on it. So that's like with no fan is like the Omega Vert, with the fan is like the Big Mouth juicer. Now, does that mean the Big Mouth juicer juice is no good because it's oxidized? Well, of course not. This juice made out of this Big Mouth juicer is definitely better than any canned or bottled juice you're going to buy in the store because it's fresh made. It has enzymes. It has a lot more nutrition than the pasteurized juices from the stores. And I drink this any day over that. The other thing that I want to really talk about is, you know, if you're buying produce from the store, from the Whole Foods, from your big box store to juice the carrots, you know, you're already starting out with produce that's maybe not at its peak vibrancy. So what's the big difference if you juice that in either juicer and drink it, because you've already lost some nutrition? Up to 50% of some nutrients can be lost within 24 hours of harvesting certain fruits and vegetables. So that's why you just saw that I just fresh picked out of my cucumber bed a cucumber and brought it over here and juiced it right up so it would have the peak nutrition, and peak nutrition after it's juiced in either juicer. Of course, if I wanted to go for peak nutrition, this machine would have a higher nutrient quality because of the lower RPMs, but this juice is still fine. And actually this juicer made a little bit higher yield on the cucumbers. So that being said, we want to buy the highest quality produce to start with, whether you grow your own, which would be the best, or buy it at the farmer's market, second best, or buy it at your health food store, and finally buying it at your local supermarket. Get it fresh, juice it fresh, and even more importantly than that is, once you make the juice, the oxidation and the cell walls are broken up, and that's when oxidation occurs now. Once you cut open the apple, it starts to turn brown. Once you juice the cucumber or whatever you're juicing, then it starts to oxidize. When it's in its whole complete form, it's not going to oxidize because it's in nature's package. So the biggest and most important thing, no matter what juice you buy, and I can't emphasize this enough, if you don't remember anything else from this video, remember this: you want to drink the juice right after you make it. So let me drink some of this juice. So no matter what juice you buy, you want to drink the juice right after you make it for the highest benefit, because the longer the juice sits out, the more oxidation, the more damage, and the less nutrients you'll have. So I tend not to save any juice. I tend to make juice and then drink it right then and there. And if I want juice later in the day, I'll get out the juicer again and juice again later. And that's why it's very important to select a juicer that's really easy to clean so that you're not put off by juicing. You could get a juicer that's really hard to clean but makes juice, according to some manufacturers, that lasts 24 hours, you know, but still it's not the best. The best is to make the juice, drink it right then and there so the least oxidation occurs, because once you break open the cell walls, and I don't care what juicer you're using, the juice degrades, and that's just how it is. So I generally, if I am going to save juice, I generally save it no more than 8 hours. And if you do have to go to work in the day, the best way to save your juice is to take a cold thermos, fill it up to the brim of the thermos, and put the lid on and have it overflow and have no extra airspace in the container. Another really good way to save your juice is to put it in a mason jar with a food saver that sucks out all the oxygen, because the oxygen causes oxidation, and suck all the air out and keep it really cold, and that's going to preserve your juice the best so that it oxidizes the least. So hope you've learned more about heating the juice and oxidation today. This is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com, and be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.